Hello and welcome back. I am pretty new to this YouTube thing, so I am Rose Wrights. Nice to meet ya. Please give this video a big ol' thumbs up. Each like equals a slice of camembert for Plag. Subscribe if you like what you hear. Joining me today will be Cameron, voicing Adrian, Plag, Master d'Argencourt, Andre the Ice Cream Maker, and Tom. I'll link his channel in the description box below. Also, if you missed the previous 2 parts, I will link them below as well. Now then, please enjoy Chapter 3, Fencing. Adrian awoke to a quick rap on the door.
I'll be right there, just a minute.
Usually Natalie, naturally assuming that's who awaited him, didn't wait, and burst into his room without warning. That always made it difficult to conceal his cheese-loving qualmy Plag. Because of this, Adrian has found himself in several close calls. Luckily, he waited patiently. He debated throwing on his signature look, but decided on a navy blue sweater with white stripes and some dark wash jeans. Plag flew in a loop and grabbed a piece of camembert and threw it into his mouth before murmuring,
"What's with this sweater?"
Adrian wasn't sure if Plag really cared or not. Yeah, probably not. If it didn't involve food, Plag wasn't interested.
Don't you like it? My friend Marinette made it for my photo shoot with Julika. She even agreed to let me keep it. She's so awesome.
His eyes gleamed in the sunlight streaming through the window.
Yeah, friend.
Plag said while scarfing down yet another slice of the stinky cheese. His tone was full of biting sarcasm.
Huh?
Adrian asked quizzically.
Nothing, kid.
Plag said dismissively and did another loop before phasing through his owner's messenger bag. A more harsh knock came from the door.
Shoot,
Adrian thought.
I forgot about Natalie.
He opened the door to see the intimidating woman towering over him, wearing her usual stoic expression. "You're going to be late, Adrian," she said bluntly without any real emotion in her voice. She looked him up and down as if judging his fashion choice of the day. "Come with me." She turned away from him, leading him into the dining room. As his personal chefs whirled around the cold, lonely room with plates of food, Natalie went to outline his schedule for the day. She stopped suddenly, looked at him over her glasses, and said, "You will not be missing today. Understood?" Adrian sighed, trying to hide his aggravation.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. She then continued. "Afterwards, you will have a one-on-one meeting with your strongest opponent, Kagami. You have not surpassed her." She stopped with a yet lingering in the air. "When you arrive home, your father would like to hear what piano pieces you have been rehearsing." Adrian gulped and hesitated.
Speaking of father, will he be joining me for breakfast?
Adrian had a hopeful tone in his voice, but he already knew the answer before he even uttered the words. Adrian. Natalie tried her best to muster some sort of tenderness in her voice. "You know, with the collection coming out next month, your father is extremely busy. He has a plethora of business phone calls as well as meetings today. Maybe tomorrow."
Yeah, I won't count on him.
Adrian muttered under his breath. If Natalie had heard him, she pretended not to. Adrian finished his meal in strained silence. After his plate was cleared out of the way, he stiffly followed Natalie to the gate where the gorilla, which is the surprisingly fitting nickname for his bodyguard, waited with the silver car already parked out front. Off to school, his only escape, except for being Cat Noir. In a sick way, he almost wished for an Akuma fight so he could see her. His Ladybug. School passed by too slowly for his taste, but the bright spot was seeing his friend sitting in Miss Boustier's class before he got there. Even Marinette was there before him.
That's got to be a first.
He laughed to himself. As soon as he walked into the room, he gave a small wave in the direction of his friends, only to be caught off guard by Chloe bolting out of her seat, throwing her arms around him. "Adrikins! I'm so glad to see you today." She gave him a fair la bise with her hands around his waist. Marinette seethed in her seat.
Hey, Chloe.
He awkwardly chuckled, removing her arms from around him.
Oh, here comes Miss Bustier. See you later.
He waved her off as he went to take his seat beside Nino. "Good morning, class!" She was everyone's favorite teacher. Her positivity radiated throughout the class, and her eyes beamed kindness and acceptance. Good morning, Miss Bustier," the class answered in unison. She smiled gently and began her lecture. Take out your history textbooks and open up to Chapter 4. Today we will be... Adrian's thoughts drifted away. He could barely pay attention to the lesson. He received good grades in everything, so he felt like he could afford to distance his thoughts, but for some reason, his thoughts drifted to Marinette. She had looked extremely red when he entered the classroom. Did it have something to do with yesterday when she fell on him? He suddenly realized he was wearing the shirt she had made. She must be embarrassed, but he didn't know why that would cause her to be embarrassed. This shirt is awesome! He floated through the rest of the day. He had been feeling out of it, just not himself. The final bell rang, jerking him back to reality. He ran to the locker room to get dressed out. As he was exiting, he saw his fencing partner, Kagami, all clad in red. He smirked to himself. Like so many other girls, Kagami liked him. Usually he was oblivious to girls' advances, but she had tried to make it obvious. And it was. Very. However, he didn't feel like Kagami liked him for the right reasons. It seemed to be almost like a business arrangement between their parents. The Agrests and the Surugis are closely involved in business. They've gone to London together as well as Japan once. All of her attention washed over him. He always tried not to notice it. He didn't feel like that about her. He liked being her friend and thought she was very talented, but that's it.
Hey, Kagami,
Adrian said cheerfully, whipping his saber around as he greeted her, still holding his mask. Hello, Adrian. She gave a slight bow. Her voice was muffled as she already donned her mask, ready for combat. There wasn't much time for pleasantries. They assumed their typical places as Master d'Argencourt entered the courtyard. d'Argencourt approached the end of the line of students and raised his right arm high above their heads, shouting, En garde! Prêt! Allez! Suddenly, students upon students clashed towards each other, metal coming together in a symphony of shing sounds. Adrian tightened the grip on his hilt as he lunged at Kagami. She was especially fierce today, like she had a mission, and that mission was to take him down. He smirked under his mask. Challenge accepted, he thought cheekily. I won't be distracted this time. Later in the dressing room, in his normal attire, Adrian was dousing his hair and forehead with water. That was quite a workout. Kagami approached Adrian, still in red, and stood in front of him. He peered at her through wet golden bangs. He pushed them out of his face. Hi, Kagami. You were great as always. I know, she answered dryly. You have shown great improvement, Adrian. It is an honor to be your partner. His cheeks couldn't stop from becoming rosy. Stop, he thought to himself. You don't like her. Kagami continued. I told my mother I was going to give you a fencing lesson, but I lied. So we have a little extra time. There is something I wanted to discuss with you. Shall we go get some ice cream? She was a very confident girl. She had every reason to be. She was extremely talented and pretty too. Adrian gulped. You mean at Andre's? Andre was the sweetheart's ice cream maker. Legend is, if two people eat ice cream together from Andre, they will stay in love forever. All you have to do is believe in the magic. He believed in the magic. Of course he did, but not with her. In his head, that sounded quite harsh. Of course, silly. Where else? She almost let herself chuckle as she booped his nose, which caught him off guard. Okay. Sure. Since we have a free hour, it beats heading home early. He rarely had free time, so it'd be a great opportunity to spend time with a friend. Great. Let's be off, shall we? His fencing partner didn't wait for his response before clinging to his arm and pulling him up. But shouldn't you change, Kagami? Adrian was puzzled. Her fencing gear was always in pristine condition. It would be a shame if it got dirty. She looked down at herself and then up to meet his gaze. Very well. You're right. I will meet you on the front steps, okay? And off she went. While waiting, Adrian browsed the Ladybug run by his friend Alia to see if he could spot any new news of Ladybug. He really missed her and couldn't help but wonder if she missed him too. He was crazy for his superheroine partner, even if the feelings may never be reciprocated. Ready? Kagami came trotting down the steps, breaking him from his thoughts. He quickly planted his phone into his pocket. Ready. He returned her smile and enthusiasm. Where do you think Andre is today? This was part of the fun, tracking down Andre. He was in a different part of Paris every day. She was thoughtful for a few moments. I know. Let's check at the Louvre Museum. I saw an Instagram story before practice and he was there. Maybe, if we're lucky, he still will be. Come on, she said, gently tugging on his sweater. Let's hurry. She was still clinging to his arm, and Adrien let her. It seemed pretty harmless. As usual, Kagami was correct. Andre sighed as he saw the two approaching with a strong yearning for the most delicious ice cream in all of Paris.
What an adorable couple these two make.
Kagami blushed at the mention of being called an adorable couple. Usually she had impassive facial expressions, but that changed subtly whenever she was around Adrien. Adrien didn't want to hurt Kagami's feelings, but he also didn't want any rumors to float around since their families were both so well known.
Actually, Andre,
he started,
we aren't a couple, just two good friends who had to come get some of your delicious ice cream after fencing practice. Works up the appetite, you know?
Adrien tried to make light of it, but he clearly saw Kagami's face fall.
Then I have exactly what you need to make all of your dreams come true.
First, the ice cream maker whipped up Kagami's.
There you are. A peach like his lips and a mint like his eyes.
Her face darkened slightly, knowing the boy she liked undoubtedly didn't return her affections.
And for a Grace Junior, I say strawberry for her lips, blackberry for her hair, and a small scoop of blueberry for her sky blue stare.
Adrien smiled. He had gotten this exact combination before from Andre. Andre may not know who Adrien is crushing on, but this was definitely Ladybug. He wanted to believe in the power of this ice cream more than anything. He just wants Ladybug to love him like he loves her. She's the only person who gets to know the real him after all. The teens bid Andre farewell and decided to sit down at an outdoor cafe a few blocks away. They began eating their ice cream in silence. Adrien doesn't do well with silences that he perceives as awkward, so he was the first to break it.
So, Kagami, you wanted to talk to me?
Yes, Adrien, I do. I will get straight to the point. You don't like me. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. It wasn't fueled with anger. It was, like she said, straight to the point. He nearly spit out his ice cream in surprise. He coughed a few times and pounded on his chest, admittedly to buy himself some more time to figure out how to answer her properly.
Kagami, I think you're really awesome.
He started. But, she answered, stone-cold expression.
There's a girl that she doesn't even know, but I think I love her.
Adrien smiled, thinking about his beautiful spotted lady. Why won't you tell her? What are you waiting for?
Kagami is complicated. I don't want her to reject me. I don't know.
He answered, holding his head in his hands in frustration. She moved her chair until she was a few centimeters away from him. If it were me that you loved, I wouldn't hesitate. I already know where I stand. Adrien's head dropped. He had been ice skating with Kagami. His father's work often pushed them together. He liked her, but not the way she liked him.
Thank you, Kagami. I value your friendship. I do. I don't want this to change our friendship. I don't want you to be mad.
She briskly cut him off as she stood up. She wrapped her arms around his neck and whispered in his ear, "When you get tired of pining after what you can't have, let me know. But I am not going to sit around and wait forever. Not even for you." She sounded strict, almost scared. The hairs on the back of his neck were still standing on end. She quickly walked off with her ice cream. Adrien returned to eating in silence as his lazy Kwame came to join him, holding some cheese. It seemed like Plag was inhaling the foul-smelling cheese.
Way to go, kid. No luck with the ladies, huh?
Plag smirked and gave one more large whiff before devouring his camembert in one bite.
Shut up, Plag. You know the only girl for me,
Adrien remarked with his cheeks red and his eyes full of hope. Suddenly behind him he heard a familiar voice call out, "Adrien!" Plag zoomed back into his bag and Marinette was running toward him wildly. Adrien stood up to greet her.
Hey, Marinette.
He was cut off by her ramming directly into him. All of her built-up momentum hit him hard, but he barely moved by her force. Sorry, I'm such a klutz. I'm sorry for falling for you. On you! Shoot! Sorry, I'm sorry for falling on you. Changing the subject, I hope I didn't spill your ice cream, she said, noting the ice cream still on the table behind him.
Nope, all good.
He smiled, offering her the seat next to him.
What's up?
Oh, nothing. I just happened to be walking around here doing deliveries, but I had just finished when I saw Kagami walking away, looking a little distraught. Is everything okay? Did something happen? Marinette had been friends with Kagami, but since she began noticing the talented fencer also had feelings for Adrien, their relationship had felt a bit uncomfortable.
Nothing really. I mean, everything will be okay.
He gave Marinette a strange smile. She stared at him skeptically. Uh-huh. Okay, keep your secrets, she teased.
Fine, okay, but is it okay that I tell you? I mean, you'd probably get bored of all my problems.
He rubbed the back of his neck. Of course not. Talk to me. She absent-mindedly put an arm around his shoulder. She desperately wanted to be close to him, but what he needed most was a friend.
Kagami. She confessed to me. I knew before that she had a meaningless crush on me, but she loves me, I think. And I don't feel the same way. I've told you about that other girl. Well, it's her, and it's always been her. I don't want to hurt Kagami, but I had to be honest with her.
Marinette honestly couldn't believe he told her all of that. Her heart hurt hearing about this other girl. Of course she knew about her, but it still hurt. She buried her feelings for Adrien deep down to try to actually help him. At least you were honest with her, so you don't lead her on. I think that's important. About this other girl. What's she like? Adrien smiled, thinking about his Ladybug.
She has my whole heart. She hates my jokes.
Adrien let out a breathless laugh, thinking of all the times he made puns in battle. Which is all the time.
She is brave, kind, selfless. She always has the right idea at the right time. She's brilliant.
You really love her, huh? Marinette smiled at Adrien's happiness. She was happy for him. At least, she thought she was.
I do.
He blushed at the word love.
Anyway, thank you for taking time out of your delivery schedule to talk with me. You should start charging me for therapy,
he remarked brightly. She let out a musical giggle. Of course, Adrien. I'm here for you. A pang of hurt rang through Marinette's heart. I better get back to the bakery. My parents are expecting me.
Can I walk with you?
Adrien put his hands together in a begging motion and the most adorable fake pout. The gestures reminded Marinette of her black-suited fighting partner, Cat Noir. Sure, if you don't mind. He beamed at her response. He quickly texted his bodyguard and disclosed that after practice he would be walking home with a friend. The two talked and laughed on their walk to the best patisserie in Paris, owned by Marinette's parents. Marinette burst through the front door of the bakery with Adrien in tow. Papa, I'm home from deliveries, and there were no pastry casuals on the way. She giggled.
Very good, darling. I knew you could do it.
Her father wrapped his daughter in a bear hug before releasing her and staring expectantly at Adrien.
Hello, Mr. Dupin.
He gave a slight smile and waved to him.
Bonjour, son. Welcome. Would you like some macaroons or croissants? On the house. Marinette has been perfecting a passion fruit macaroon, and it's quite tasty.
He crossed his arms joyously, always wanting the chance to praise his daughter's baking. Papa! Marinette shouted in embarrassment.
I'd love some macaroons. Thank you, monsieur. Passion fruit is my favorite.
He was truly elated. He took one bite and still with the tender goodness in his mouth.
Wow, Marinette, you made these? These are incredible.
He swiftly scarfed down another. Really? Wow, thanks, Adrien! She all but squealed. He nodded an affirmation as he swallowed his last macaroon. Marinette's mother, Sabine, entered the bakery from the back. Oh, hello, Adrien. Sabine whispered something to her husband, Tom. Whatever it was, Marinette nor Adrien could hear.
Say, Adrien,
Tom started, placing one large bear-like hand on his back.
We are having the biggest Mario Kart tournament here tomorrow evening with dinner and desserts. What do you say? Care to join us?
Marinette covered her face and said, "You really don't have to if you don't want to. No pressure. I'd love for you to come, but I know you're always super busy, so I'll understand if, Adrian had really grown to adore her rambling monologues. His glorious laugh broke up her sentence.
I'm free tomorrow, actually. I wouldn't miss it. Mostly so I could beat you at Mario Kart. I'm kind of a master.
He chided with a prankster smile. You're so on, she yelled, followed by a giggle. I can't wait. He flashed that brilliant smile she had grown to love more than anything.
It's a date.
Beet red, Marinette didn't respond, but gave a double thumbs up as he walked out of the bakery, headed towards his house. Marinette kissed the cheeks of both of her parents and scrambled up to her balcony to catch a glimpse of him as he walked away. Thank you so much for listening to Chapter 3, Fencing. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you heard cat bells, my cats are on something, so just ignore that. Thank you so much, and stay miraculous!